Well, g'day everyone, and welcome to Payks and Mora's fantasy review for round 7. We're here at the Malvern Hotel. Payks, welcome to you, mate.
Thank you very much, Mora. It's been a massive week on the website at Evertech.
I know, the wall has gone ballistic. It's gone into meltdown mode this week. It's all been happening.
It has, and it's something that the league just never, ever manages to do without. So it's good to have it back.
Yeah,
I've missed it.
Bit of controversy, I like that. Well, Payks, I've noticed that you've reclaimed your mantle as the number one team scored against, top of the table for points against.
And top for fewest scored as well. If the mid-season draft could please start earlier and give me a priority pick as well, I'm fucking struggling, man.
You'd take Tom Lynch at this stage, wouldn't you?
Oh, look, after a 10-goal performance, that was 43% of his career goals.
Yeah. Can you believe that no one's got Tom Lynch?
Well, I believe that one does, but unfortunately it's the wrong one.
Yes, well, it has been, like you say, a big week. There's pretty much, you name it, everything's been happening. Even Mora has changed his team name for the first time, kept the logo intact, partly to maintain the heritage of Mora's Horrors and partly because CVF, but I quite enjoyed it. I was a bit late in on the party there, but I'm enjoying changing the team name. It's good fun.
It is. If I could change mine, I don't know what I'd be thinking of at the moment, but Greg seems to have pissed off the countdown to Sacco.
Maybe you'll have to take over that one?
I think so. I think I'd be $1 at the moment.
Maybe yours could be, what's happening?
Maybe.
It's pretty funny. Anyway, it's quite funny. Speaking of Sacco on the ladder in general, which we sort of were,
We can take it.
I've just noticed this is sort of the point in the AFL season where the ladder seems to take shape. You know, the bottom 6 in the AFL ladder will probably be the bottom 6 come season's end, but in our ladder,
there are 13 teams that can make the finals.
It's just, it doesn't... It's comments like that sparked Greg's team into action, but it doesn't work if you make it yourself, Payks. I'm sorry.
I needed somebody else to make it. Maybe someone in the audience, a live audience over there.
Maybe one of the tweets coming through, because they've been coming through thick and fast this week. But I've noticed that the top 7 in points for make up the top 7 on the ladder spots, and I think that's good. I think that's good for the league. But in terms of the ladder positions, there's one win between spots 1 and 9. That's just, you can't buy that sort of tension in the middle of the ladder. It's anybody's ball.
It's going to be exciting. If we can get some Sunday afternoon viewing towards the end of the season leading into the finals, it could just explode this league. It might not exist next year.
I reckon maybe a double or triple homicide on the cards if it gets close. Well, it has. It was a particularly close week this weekend. Lots of stuff to go through. Extended week, it went through to the Monday. I reckon we just
jump straight in.
Enough of this chit chat. We get into it.
So looking back at last week, the results of round 7 wins and good wins to Ron, Tal Lenger, Andrew Lifson, who could be the winner of the week, and Slavic. There was one other big win, and the co-host would like to have a chat about that one.
Yes, I would. It was stirring stuff. I'll tell you what, from where I began this week, it was basically Levy by how much. 6 of my first 7 players didn't crack 60, and Stephen Motlop and Luke Hodge, players like that, were just destroying it for Levy. So then it came down to the last game. I stopped checking fan footy. That was it.
Concentrated on watching the footy.
I was just enjoying watching footy without checking the phone with it every 10 minutes. It was 10 seconds in my case, but I really enjoyed that. Came down to the last game, needed 267 points plus whatever Cruiser and Yaron scored between my 3, so wasn't convinced that they would even get that far, enforce the follow-on as it was, but...
Enter Jack Stephen.
Enter Josh Levy. I don't know what he was doing. It was very arrogant of him to withdraw Yaron from the match in the first quarter on just 2 points. I thought he could have given him at least a quarter, but he wanted to wrap him up in cotton wool, and that sort of backfired a little bit. Jack Stephen took it personally. He took it as an insult. Went absolutely ballistic. 39 disposals and 7 tackles later, he was on 145, and before that it was half time. He was above 50. Yeah, Juddy was above 50. And Cruiser was looking hampered, and I was sitting there thinking, I'm a sneaky chance here, and all of a sudden, jumped on, found footy, whipped up a quick spreadsheet.
So obviously that was going through your mind at half time, and through the second half, just watching that total reduce itself up until what point in the game?
Well, up until the last minute, it was really decided with just a couple of late Curnow tackles. I mean, it wasn't for all of Stephen's hard work, it wasn't he. For all of Judd's hard work, it wasn't he. It was actually Curnow that scored the winning points, and all three of them had 7 tackles. Curnow's 7th tackle put me above 1,400, and a convenient free kick against Matthew Cruiser, and all of a sudden I was dancing around the halls of Croc Media, and no one really understood why.
I think in light of Ed Curnow's effort, you would definitely now have an appreciation of him, and to honour that appreciation, you should definitely connect with the Facebook page, the face Ed Curnow makes when disposing of the ball.
This is the first I've heard of this page, but
have a look for it. It's up there with some of the best ones.
I was watching Curnow all night, and I did notice that he does make some interesting faces when he gets rid of the ball, so that was all good. But look, that was just a little bit of self-indulgence, a bit of Mora's Horror's masturbation, if you will, so we'll
leave it
on
at
from
that.
Me. We'll leave it at that, as you say. That was,
I think, though,
nice pun work.
Aside from your big win against the arrogance of Josh, that win by Greg, what is going on here?
What is going on? The man who couldn't crack 1,300 in the first 5 weeks has pulled out 2 stirring victories to turn his season around. Basically, you'd say the catalyst was Eugene's comments on Open Pike.
Possibly was, but I couldn't ask him a question about my own team. Like, you could never do that. But we all know that this team down at Pipeland is fucked.
They need something. They need to head down to Sorrento for a night away, I reckon. They just need something to rejuvenate the batteries of your team. But like you say, we're here at the moment. We've got to talk about Greg's team, because that was probably the biggest upset since Melbourne Essendon last year.
It did come down. It did come down right to the wire. You would have thought that Armitage Garlett and Andrew Walker probably would have been able to score the 270 they needed to take them to victory.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the case this week. A fantastic victory to Greg, and good for the league as well.
Good for the league, and good for, I think, for everyone concerned to take Wayne down a peg. Like you say, he had the last 3 players win. They needed 270 or 90 points each, and basically Greg was just sitting there watching his lead get chipped away at. But Wayne couldn't get the job done. Armitage and Garlett held up their ends with 90 and 89, but Walker let the side down, and it was tight in the end. But 26 points was the win to Greg.
Can go either way sometimes.
Can do, as Josh Levy found out the hard way. But Wayne is going to look back at his discussions around the selection table. Maybe he needs a bit more time with Dean Cox in the war room, because picking Liam Picken ahead of Nathan Van Burlo, who was playing GWS this week, let's not forget that. That was the difference. Picken scored in the 40s. Van Burlo nearly tonned up. That was the difference in the end.
The big difference. It's amazing how you can turn your season around just with a few guys coming back in.
And I would suggest that next time Eugene is in this great state of Victoria, I reckon Greg might owe him a beer or 2.
Maybe to thank him for sparking his team into action.
Well, congratulations to those who did post the big W this weekend.
Speaking of the big W, winner of the week is next.
Well, yes, if there was ever a nominee for back-to-back winners of the week, it would have been Greg. He did have a really, really good win, as we've just spoken about. But, to knock someone like that off the mantle, you have to put up a pretty big score, and Andrew's managed to do it. Andrew, you did knock Greg out of the winner of the week spot this week. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
Do you have any comments for Greg?
Comments for Greg, well, first of all, it proves you can't take a team lightly in this league. Any team can beat anyone else, except for possibly Payks' team over here.
Give us the recognition we deserve.
The recognition you deserve.
Of not being able to beat anyone.
Well, it was those sorts of comments that seemed to have sparked Greg's team into action, but you didn't need any sort of inspiration. They just seem to pile on the score. Tell us about it. It was 16-49. Tell us about that score.
16:49. It was a terrific score. The players really dug in. We got our captain back here and our inspiration back in Ryan Griffin, of course, the man after whom my team is named. We were missing over Bryce Gibbs, Chris Maston, who's been one of our best midfielders, probably our best so far. And the players just took it on themselves to really push forward, get the win, get the huge scores, the defenders especially, and it was just great.
On your defenders, what do they do at training? Do they not shower? Maybe they don't shower before the games because they just rack up uncontested possession after uncontested possession.
Well, one of our training drills is basically to do that sprint into the back pocket or towards the back flank, just to see, and to do that 15-20 metre chip to the player there. Because as we know, kick marks are fantastic. They are the backbone of many a great side.
They are. Just on that, I don't know. I'm sure you're more than aware because it happen every week. But your backline this week, 100 uncontested possessions.
Well, you did mention that players like Gibbs and Maston are still to come back in, but the score that you had this week was, it included Daniel Cross in the green vest. Two questions. One, why did you start him as the sub, someone like Daniel Cross? And two, did it cost you a 1,700?
Look, as we know, the AFL rules are you have to have a sub in every match. We've managed to get around that most weeks, and we sort of snuck an extra player on. This week, though, we thought we better play ball. The AFL was sort of coming down hard on us, and we just thought we needed a little bit of a rest, basically.
They would have probably scrutinised your game quite heavily, particularly with the interest in the Larkus saga. You had a vested interest in what was going on there. Talk us through what happened this week and how Larkus ended up with 2 blanks on the bench.
Well, Larkus apparently was drunk on Friday night and didn't see that his
pre-game
preparation was to be drunk. He didn't see that Mumford was out. I thought that given that Ron, there was a precedent set last year which was brought to our attention, so I thought given that Ron last year was able to replace a player having made it known before the match started that there was an issue, that Larkus should be able to do the same. However, there was also the dodgy trade, the loan as such, which I thought was very low and poor form. I thought very poor from Larkus.
And finally, just the big one, the big question going around the league at the moment is the Lifson showdown. It's 3 versus 5. As we've discussed earlier, the ladder is tight as anything.
Yep.
This could really push one of you further or closer or further from the ultimate success. Where are we sitting? How's the household?
Well, the household is Lawrence is trying to take the pressure off his team. He sees that he's got some injuries with his top players. He seems to be conveniently forgetting that I also have Gibbs and Masson out, some top players of mine. He has Cyril, who is it, Grimes and Kelly out for next week. So, admittedly, 3 versus 2 in terms of top players out. But
Gibbs might return.
Gibbs might return. But basically, he's sort of playing down the week. He's just trying to take all the pressure off his team, saying he's not really a chance. Just trying to put all the pressure on boys. My boys won't fall for that. They know just do the hard yards. The midfielders get the hard footy and get the ball. Defenders sprint for your chip kicks, get into space, and forwards get your forward tackles, your goals, and your possessions.
One last one on the Lifson derby. Do Harold or Sabella take sides during the week?
Well, I think due to resemblances, I'm probably Mum's favourite child, but Lawrence is probably Dad's favourite child. So I think it's a 2-on-2 sort of household.
A 50-50 split for the week.
Pretty much, yeah.
Fair enough. Well, best of luck to you and both the Lifson boys, let's be fair.
Let's hope the house is still standing on Sunday night.
Hopefully you get the Australian curling team down to training again to teach them all how to sweep very well. I know Fisher took some of those lessons to heart. And hopefully you'll be back in the winner's seat before too long.
Thank you guys.
we're looking over to the week ahead, and as the ladder starts to take shape, there'll be a couple of matches that are particularly interesting. And my microscope is on Larkus and Langer. That's just going to be great.
It will be a big game, and Langer might have the ascendancy here, in my opinion. But there's been some conversation during the week that's caught your eye.
Yeah, well, I really liked Langer stirring Larkus a little bit. Tal made his comments about having 8 to 10 backs, and if anyone wants to trade, very similar comments to Larkus's. And I thought Langer was very close to winner of the week for his little dig back at Tal, saying that he and Larkus might like to trade a couple of them.
They're not terribly good, those bottom backs that they have. But on to the next game. But before we get there, we've identified a few key matchups between Sydney and Freo and Carlton and Port Adelaide in this game. And looking at the midfield battles, we've got Duffield and Mundy and Hanbury and Ryan O'Keefe against possibly Carazzo, Murphy, Patrick Dangerfield. These guys could shape this game.
There's anywhere up to 15 or 17 players in those two games alone who could be playing, so it really comes down to, I think the Sydney game's on Sunday, so it'll come down towards the end of the round. Looking at Mumford is involved in there as well, McFarlane's involved in there, Ryan.
Hopefully he doesn't forget to put him in his team.
Well, yes, hopefully none of this lockout controversy again. The Mumford saga, as it was called. Hopefully,
Put a smile on my face over the previous weekend.
Hopefully, Larkus can just lay off the drink until 7:40 on Friday this week. But do you have a tip for that one, Larkus and Langer? It's 7 spots between them on the ladder, but I think it's closer than that.
Probably is, but he's having been trumped by Langer over the weekend previously gone. It's hard to look past him again.
I think Larkus has a team that's better than 9. I reckon it's a sneaky chance this week.
Looking ahead at the other games this weekend, we've got Elliott and Camel. 4th versus 7th. This is going to be a cracker.
Camel's flying under the radar a little bit. Like I say, he's in, I think, the top 5 for points scored. So he's just quietly going about his business, racking up the W's, and I reckon he'll get another one this week.
Fura Elliott would be confident of another return to form of his great midfield. I think Elliott might take the points this week.
I get the sneaking suspicion that Mitchell won't play against GWS, so that'll be a big out for Elliott if it's the case. Payks, you're up against Ron. Ron obviously sitting in the top 6. Payks obviously not.
It's all right. We've seen what's happened with Greg. We're all due for a win at some stage. Maybe this is the week. Maybe it's a week where I'll have more players not playing than playing.
Where are the boys going to stay in Sorrento this during the week?
Well, they might actually stay there over the weekend as well.
Probably score a little bit better.
Hopefully.
Myself, I've got Tal. Tal, who, well, Payks, you had some interesting comments about him off camera. Are you prepared to put them on the record?
Oh, look, I don't think the 8th, 9th and 10th defender that he's got playing are particularly good. I actually don't think the 8th, 9th and 10th will play. I've only identified 7 that might play in his backs. He's got a couple of ruckmen, but why wouldn't you play Jolly? Why not tag?
It's a valid question. I agree. I think it's too important for my players. I know they like to get up against Hull, and I think the good news is I managed to get a win despite my 5 forwards all failing on the same week. Not one of them scored 60. So, look, I think with a return to form for those boys and maybe a sneaky inclusion or 2, I think I've got him.
It's a big weekend of the rivalries. Looking at the last couple of games, we've got Wiener first position versus Levy. Now, we all know what happened last year, which is certainly going to add a little bit of extra spice to this matchup.
Well, they're the sorts of players that the sorts of coaches that you just want to get up against no matter where they are on the ladder, and for them to be coming head to head, you know that sparks are going to fly in that game.
I think depending on Levy's injuries and the way Cruiser may return to form, maybe he might get dropped. But Yaron out will be a big one for him, but he does have some solid defenders and midfielders still with Hodge and Birchall. They could just chop up the GWS.
I think that's where it's going to be won. I've got Levy down for a win. I think he was very good this week, very unlucky not to get the W, and I think he'll bounce back.
Slavic and Greg, the 11th versus 13th. This game has a lot more in it than just that ladder position. This could be a real determination for one of these guys to avoid a place in the Sacco in the Bog Roll final.
The Bog Roll Cup, some might say. Personally, I think Greg's form is too hard to overlook, so I'm going to give my tip to him. How about you, Payks?
I think Greg might get up again. Number 3 in a row in his season. He would be one outside the 8 after that.
That would just be a monumental turnaround of Gold Cun's proportions. And comfortably, I think, match of the week is the Lifson Showdown. We were trying to come up with a better name for it, the L Clash or something like that.
Well, I've heard about the tension that's happening at home at the moment. I know that they are a tight-knit family, but this week is going to be pushing them to all of their limits.
I'd say they'd be hiring people to just test dinner before they do. That's probably what it's going to come out. It's going to come to something like that eventually with these boys. We know how seriously they take their fantasy footy. So, have you got a tip in that one?
Lifson.
I reckon Lifson might just get it as well. No, in all seriousness, Andrew's team is so good and it's only got potential to get better. I mean, Daniel Cross scored 50 and he's...
Won't be the star again.
If he'd got 105, I think it was, that's a 1700, which if he played the full game he would have.
Tough to look past.
You can't look past that form. So, personally, that's it for me.
We'll go with Andrew as well.
Well, Payks, thanks for running the rule over the Fantasy Footy League this week.
Not a problem, Lawrence. Been a pleasure as always.
And
starting to require some binoculars to see that spot above me on the ladder.
well, hopefully you get a W this week and, stay in touch with the top 8.
Thanks very much for your support. Kind words.
No worries. Catch us next week.